Hey, coach, what is the tone you want to set when training camp opens, and what's one specific thing you hope to accomplish?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you want to set a level of expectation for how we're going to operate throughout the course of the season. The challenge for us will be how quickly can we all get onto the same page. We have a new group, this is a little unusual in terms of how quickly we'll start playing, but that's the challenge for every team. So the first part is to be a great practice team. I think if we practice well, we'll play well.
All right. Second question comes from Spencer Julian of MSG.
Hey, Coach. Good to have you back in New York.
Thanks, Spencer. Great to be here.
In all your years in the league, you've always instilled a defensive mindset with your teams. With this young group, some of which who excel on the other end of the floor, what will be your message to them as you try to get them to bring it on the defensive end every night?
Well, I think, you begin with the end in mind. What will it take for us to be successful? And I think we have to be strong on both sides of the ball. And there's going to be some nights in which, you don't shoot the ball as well as you do on normal nights. And you want to be able to count on your defense night in and night out. So we'll work on that, and hopefully we'll improve as we go along. I think it's a big part of winning to be successful in this league. You have to be strong defensively. You have to take good shots, and you have to play for each other. So the togetherness part is critical on both ends of the floor.
Our next question comes from Brian Mahoney of the Associated Press.
Hey, Tom. The way this preseason is probably going to be with maybe stops and starts, all that kind of stuff. Is it realistic that any team can really be ready to play when the season starts? And do you normally feel like there is enough time when you have a team?
Yeah, I think, and that's the challenge. The challenge is it's a quick turnaround, but every team is faced with that same challenge, and then it's ongoing. So you set the tone for how you're going to practice, and of course we have 4 preseason games. So hopefully we can improve in those games and have a good idea of who will be at the start of the regular season. And then we want to improve throughout the course of the season. And we have to have a good understanding of what it takes to win in this league. And that's something that we'll work on each and every day.
Next question comes from Ian Begley, SNY.
Coach, thanks for doing this. I hope your loved ones are well. I know that you came when you took the job. Before you took the job, you said you have no interest in being like a team president anymore. But obviously, you had that role in Minnesota. So I was just curious, like, with the way things unfolded in the offseason, how much input did you have on the moves that were made, and what do you think about the moves that you guys did over the last few weeks?
Yeah, and I liked it, and obviously I had input with Leon. And that's all that I ever asked for, is just to have my voice heard, and that happened. And so, and we understood coming in what the challenges would be. And so we're excited about the people we do have. We understand that it's important for us to build a winning culture. And if we can do that, good things will happen.
Next question comes from Steph Bondi, the Daily News.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
So, there were obviously some more polished and veteran players out there in the trade market and free agency. Can you just kind of tell us the strategy here with building this roster and why? I mean, you don't have a player that's over 30 years old. I mean, can you just take us through the strategy here and why what you thought building this roster?
Well, there's obviously a couple of different roads you can go down, and I think if you study it and you look at how teams are built, and I went through this in Minnesota, and obviously the draft is critical, free agency is critical, player development is critical, and trade opportunities are critical. And when you look back at Philadelphia and what they went through, and obviously they went through a lot of losing, and they were able to get Embiid and Simmons. But then when they added their veterans, that's when they took off. So I think you look at all four avenues and you try to build your plan that way. I thought we had a well thought out plan, and we took advantage of some things that we thought would be good for us, but we wanted to be disciplined, and we were. So there'll be other opportunities as we go forward, but we concentrate on the players that we have here, concentrate on our improvement, and hopefully good things will happen.
Our next question comes from Steve Hopper of Newsday.
Hey, Tom. I guess with that sort of roster build you were talking about and the culture you want to build, if you have a young team and you didn't get those superstar players and it's a building process here, how do you, I guess, manage expectations when they aren't very high for, outside the organization? How do you keep these young players on that path of getting, keeping their heads up and doing things the right way if things are a struggle?
Well, that's the first step. The first step is practicing the right way, having a professionalism and a togetherness that will allow us to reach whatever our potential is. And we want to build a winning culture, and that happens day by day. So oftentimes you're not going to jump from one point to the top of the league in a short amount of time. So you have to go step by step, and we can't skip over any of those steps. And hopefully we have the right guys where we can build that culture.
Next question comes from Rebecca Harlow from
Coach, looking forward to working with you again. Welcome to New York.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're talking about building a culture and young players and all of that. You've obviously proven to be very effective with development. You've had a lot of success with very young players when you look at Jimmy Butler, Derrick Rose, etc. What excites you about what you are seeing from the young players on this roster, and what also will be your biggest challenge in terms of developing them to the point that you want to see this season?
Yeah, and it's the overall development into building a winning program and organization. So it's not just the individual player development, but it's the team development. And I think we have some guys that have a big upside. And obviously when you look at an RJ and you look at a guy like Obi and Emmanuel quickly, and Kevin Knox and our point guards, we have several players there. So and I like that there's competition. So nothing will be given to anyone. You're going to have to earn your minutes. And those decisions on rotation will be based on performance and what gives the team the best chance of winning. A player's not just going to get minutes to get minutes. You have to impact winning. You have to put the team first. There has to be sacrifices made. And that's what we're going to strive towards each and every day. I think we have a very strong staff. The focus will be on teaching and work. So we know there's a lot of work to be done. When you look at where we stood last year, there's a lot of ground to be made up. And when you look at the rosters of the teams that we're competing against, the challenge will be how together can we be. The degree of how smart and how hard and how together is going to be critical for us.
Next question comes from Tim Bontemps, ESPN.
Hey, Tom. Thanks for doing this. Two things quick. Obi Toppin obviously is a rookie. What are your expectations for him coming into his rookie season? And RJ talked earlier about being motivated by the all-rookie team and wanting to improve on his rookie season. What specifically are you looking for him to improve on in his second season?
Well, I'll start with Obi, and we're real excited about him. And, he got in immediately, and we sort of followed him in his draft preparation. His energy, his skill set, his ability to shoot, I think offensively, he's about as ready as a young guy can be coming into the league. And defensively, he's got to learn and he's got to grow, as most young guys do. But we think that he's a great fit for what we're looking to do. In terms of RJ, and again, the whatever slights that may have occurred, whether it's the all-rookie team or any of those things. Usually when you win, you get recognized. And so to focus on the winning part of it and not to, attach like just scoring. I want him to be an all-around player. I want him to focus on his defense, his playmaking. And I think the scoring is going to come. He's got a big upside to him, but also be a leader. How you practice, how you conduct yourself each and every day, how unselfish you are. Those are important parts of winning. And also to understand, when to shoot and when to pass. And I think that's a challenge for our entire team. And that's, of course, a big part of winning.
Our next question comes from Michael Hilsenrath from NBC.
Hey, Coach, it's Bruce Beck. Sorry about that. Hey, Tom, you talked a lot about development, about improvement, about progress, about teaching. How do you preach patience to the fans while you're going through this process?
Well, I think the one thing about the New York fans, they're knowledgeable about the game. And I think if they see a team that's out there working as hard as they can and playing smart and playing together, that will be recognized. And if we're taking care of all the little things, I think the big things will end up taking care of themselves. And as long as we're improving each and every day, good things are coming.
Our next question comes from Mike Vaccaro, the New York Post.
Hey, Tom, I'm kind of curious on draft night, how surprised were you that Obi fell to you? And then how excited and happy were you when you saw that was actually going to be a possibility?
Yeah, we were surprised in some ways, but in other ways, we thought that could be a possibility just based on, we thought everyone said that it's not a very deep draft, but we liked the position that we were in, and we thought that might be a possibility. We felt there was one other team that could be in the way, and obviously they weren't. And so when that presented itself, we thought that would be a good fit for us. We liked his overall talent. We liked the fact that we felt he would be ready to play right away. So, and I think the big thing with him was the shooting piece of it. The way he can stretch the floor, and we think that'll be a big plus for us. And then of course, the defensive part is something that we have to work on, and we have to do that as a team. But I think his ability to maybe play multiple positions, his ability to put the ball on the floor and make plays, and I think that's a big asset in today's NBA.
Our next question comes from Mark Berman, New York Post.
Hey, Tom. Las Vegas, has you guys down for 22.5 victories. I mean, you're used to the playoffs and everything. Can this roster compete for a playoff berth, or that's not kind of on your mind with this rebuilding?
Yeah. I mean, I never really paid attention to that stuff. It's, if you go back over the years, there's, it's really meaningless. What I look at is, okay, this is our team. How do we get better? What gives us the best chance to win? And just take it day by day. And, a lot of things can happen over the course of a season. So the focus for us and for our team has to be on doing the right things each and every day. And if we do that, we'll improve and we'll get better. And that's all we have to think about. It really doesn't matter what the outside people think, whether it be Vegas or anywhere, it's what we think. And so if we come in each and every day and we do the right things and we play for each other, good things will happen.
Our next question comes from Steve Popper, Newsday.
Hey, Tom, I know you mentioned, obviously, what you guys have to do developing. How important is it to you for these young players? You guys brought in some young veterans, but for your young guys, you have RJ, Mitch, the point guards. How important is it for them to play? And how do you decide on that, whether, on a night a better chance is to play, Austin Rivers over a young point guard or something, or a young shooting guard?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to project right now because we haven't really practiced and we haven't played any games. And so that, once we get a chance to practice and play in some games, we'll settle on a rotation. And I think over the course of the season, you pretty much need everyone, but you can't play 15 guys every night. So some tough decisions will have to be made. Sacrifices will have to be made, and you get into a 9 or 10 man rotation. But usually over the course of the season, whether it's injury, foul trouble, that sort of thing, and particularly with the COVID this year, everyone's got to be ready. And when that opportunity comes, you have to take advantage of it. But it's how the group fits together. It's how the group plays together. It's not an individual sport. It's a team sport. So we'll make the decisions based on what gives us winning.
Our next question comes from Steph Bondi, Daily News.
Hey, Coach. One thing I think a lot of us noticed when the roster was getting built, there was a common thread of a lot of Kentucky players, a lot of CAA players. Was that done purposefully, kind of familiarity purposes, or what was the thinking behind that, or was it just coincidental?
Yeah, I think more coincidental, and obviously, the Kentucky piece is they have one of the best programs in the country, whether we're talking about a Kentucky or a Duke. And I know both coaches very well, and oftentimes we'll talk to them about the draft and get their thoughts, and if you're getting a player out of either one of those programs, they understand what the team is about. They understand what winning is about. So it just that part was coincidental. CAA is it's one of the biggest agencies out there, and there's a lot of arms to CAA. There's a number of agents that work for the agency, and so it just so happened that quite a few of the guys are represented by CAA, but I think that probably holds true for most teams. But that we thought they fit us the best, and we had the opportunity to get those players, and we did. But there wasn't anything that we said, well, we got to have Kentucky players or we have to have CAA players. That's just not the case.
We have time for 2 more questions. The next one comes from Ian Begley, SNY.
Tom, just to piggyback off of Steve Popper's question, I know this is your first year here, but in years past here, sometimes there came a point in the season where the coach or management or whoever said, the record is what it is. Let's give a young guy more minutes over a veteran, even though he may not give us the best chance to win. We want him to, learn on the court, learn on the job, and we think that's our best approach. For you, though, it sounds like it's always winning over anything else in terms of playing time, lineups. Would it ever be, it's important for us to develop this player, so let's give him minutes over somebody who may give us a better chance to win? How do you approach that?
I think there's a lot that goes into development. And I think, like oftentimes people say, well, you have to play him in a game, and you do. But you also have practices is where it starts. So you got to get that part down first. Then you have to have study, film study, meetings with your coaches. And then you also have the opportunity to use the G League. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can develop, but also understanding the importance of winning and how important that is. And so things are going to be earned. They're not going to be given to players. And that's the way I think we have to approach it.
Our last question comes from Spencer Julian, MSG.
Coach, what excites you about coaching a guy like Mitchell Robinson, who's really just starting to scratch the surface right now? And does he remind you of anybody when you see him out on the floor?
No, I think he's had some really good moments. But I think he's got a long way to go. I think the work part, the professionalism, to continue to grow, to impact winning, there's a lot of room for growth. And I think the discipline to practice well each and every day. I'm excited about having him here where we can get to work with him each and every day. And I don't know where he'll end up. And I hate to compare him to anyone because there's things that he can do that are very unique, and I think we were very fortunate getting Nerlens Noel. I think he's in some ways very similar when you look at rim protection and where Nerlens ranked last year. I believe he was second in the league, and I also believe he was in the top 5 in finishing. So we're excited about both guys.